Welcome back, everyone. Staring from Mysterium Gaming here. Today we're running the Kata instance known as the Deadmines, but on Heroic. Now, Deadmines is actually a classic dungeon, but a Heroic version for it was put in for Cataclysm expansion. So we're going to run the Heroic version. As you know, the Deadmines is located in Westfall. For Horde, it's a pretty long flight, so it's always fun.
I'm out of range.
Now, our first boss here is Talk. This boss is a two-phase fight. First one, he's just meleeing. Fist of Flame causes his Fist of Flame to do fire damage. And on occasion, he'll knock you up in the air with it. Fist of Frost, it causes Fist of Frost damage. He can reduce movement speed and casting and range attack speeds. Blink is just basically when he does is when his Fists of Flame or Frost wears off. But on Heroic, he resets all the threat of enemies to 0, so you gotta be careful. Now phase 2 is when he gets to 50% health. He basically starts casting in the middle and it becomes a pretty much merry-go-round. You can launch fire blossoms at random people and locations that land for 2 seconds later and it causes damage. But also on Heroic, it causes a fire elemental to come up, but it has low health, so it's easy to beat down. Now, Frost Blossom's the same as the Flame Blossom, but it's just a water elemental that shows up. The Firewall, he'll cast, basically it's the merry-go-round part of it as well. You gotta be careful what you're doing, because if you run into it, you're guaranteed to hurt yourself or even get killed by it. So we're gonna pretty much one-shot him.
Show the power of the arcade.
But I say, this guy was the original achievement for ready for raiding. And so you don't get hit by a firewall while on Heroic. Now here's the next boss. Helix Gearbreaker. Yeah, it's 2 phases here. As he starts at phase 1, he'll be on top of his lowering oath. While he does that, he'll cast Sticky Bomb, which is pretty explanatory. It's a bomb that's sticky. Basically, you just gotta watch where you're planting these and don't run into them. Now, Oath Smash, he'll grab a random player, start here, and then charge all the way there, causing damage. But on Heroic, it'll inflict 6% of the player's health. That's physical damage. Now, he can throw Helix, and while that, Helix will be attacking anyone he gets tossed on. Also, though, when he leaps back onto his oath, he leaves a chest bomb on the current player he's on. Basically, that person just needs to run to here, let the bomb go off, and they don't get launched up in the air. Just makes it easy. During this, the crew members can show up while they're up on the log here, start chucking bombs. Now, phase 2 activates when the oath dies. Basically, he's just running around doing what he would do normally, but sometimes you gotta chase him down, especially if someone's just running around while he's on top of him. So basically, if you have Helix on top of you during this fight, stand still and let your team beat the living crap out of him.
I didn't need him. Will pay me when I'm done you your heads. Scales have tipped.
Now, normally you use this prototype Reaper down here to help with the fight, but due to my high level, I'm just going to let it sit right there and destroy him. Now, to actually initiate this boss fight, you have to pretty much destroy all 4 of these prototype Reapers here.
Far away.
And see, their deaths energize him.
5000 online. All systems nominal.
Now, the prototype Reaper actually comes into this fight to help, but one player has to be into it. Leave it into it. But we don't need it because we can easily destroy him. Now, he has an ability called Reaper Strike, which does a physical damage within a target cone of 60 degrees. Overdrive is when it boosts its damage and starts running around at double its movement speed. Harvest, more or less, is a cleave, which is a 60-degree cone attack. You don't have to, just as long as you don't stay in front of it, you're fine. When it gets to 30% health, it takes off its limits, safety restrictions, and increases the damage it does by 100%. And since it's on heroic, he spits out molten slag periodically. Basically, it's a little ad. It looks like this. I'll chase people down, and you should just be able to destroy it, as long as the prototype Reaper can easily take care of those.
Threshold is offline. System catastrophic system weak. Imminent 2. Shutting down.
Now I see the prototype Prodigy for this one is to keep the prototype Reaper from falling below 9% health at any time during the fight. Now we're actually coming up to near the end.
I need a target.
On normal, the instance actually ends when you take out Captain Cookie. Now, if you had a rogue or someone who had a key or something to open this, you wouldn't set off the alarm. But since we don't have that active on us, or do we? Nope. As you see, the cannon was rigged, and now Fruit shows up. And as you can see, you get launched, knocked back if you stand inside this when a cannon hits. Now it's just a small fight up to the top of the ship. Normally in the groups we would use these cannons to fight off the rest of the mobs, which I'll show you a little bit. As you can see. We would do that in order to fight them off. Now, as I forgot to mention, when you get to certain parts, you can actually use this teleporter to teleport to certain areas. Now, Admiral Ripsnarl, get this up here. It's a pretty simple fight. Thirst for Blood is whenever he lands a successful attack, he gets increased attack speed and movement speed, and he gets a little bit bigger in size. It stacks up to 20 times. Now, Swipe is basically a cleave. Now, periodic through the fight, as you see at 75, 50, and 25, Fog shows up. He disappears while you're fighting off Vapors, which are these guys. As you can see, Summon Vapor, he summons them up. But on Heroic, when he gets below 10% health, 3 additional Vapors form in the fog, so you gotta be careful. But while the fog's going on, he reveals himself once more from a fog, and he randomly leaps at someone, doing damage and stunning them. And during actually in Heroic, he does it all the time. Now for Vapors, it's pretty easy to take them. Really, if you DPS them down fast enough, which they're not really a lot of health, you don't have to worry about much of their abilities. Just don't let them coalesce or they'll explode and pretty much knock everyone off the boat.
Fresh not me! Find her until it is too late.
Now, as you can see, someone's in there. Captain Cookie. A lot of people like this Murloc, okay? But basically, he'll just start in the fight. He'll be in the middle inside a giant cook pot. You're just going to DPS him down while he throws random food at people. Some of the food will actually have a rotten aura, so you don't want to stand near them. Now, you can actually eat this food. You want to eat the food that is glowing, not the food that is got a green swirl around them. We're going to get this fight started, and you'll see what I mean. There's Cookie's Cauldron. Now, as you see, he's just throwing food randomly at me, doing damage. It bounces off people, but as you can see, certain food is rotten, and some of it is not. You want the unrotted food in order as you get a stack and it boosts your speeds and such. This is basically the whole fight. And as you see, there's actually an achievement known as I'm on a diet. is do not gain more than 1 stack of nauseated during the fight. Now, to initiate the last fight that's on heroic only, is you gotta read this note from Vanessa. But before we get into that, this fight actually starts uniquely. You don't actually fight her until you get to a certain part. But basically, she's a rogue, so just expect rogue type abilities. Deflection is she just deflects all melee and range and spells. When her health of when it's higher than 25% health, that's what she'll keep using. When she gets below 25, you don't have to worry. Deadly Blade, she just jumps any enemy attacking them. It's basically a shadow step, just like Backlash. Fiery Blaze is basically ropes will spawn here. While she's casting that, you jump on the rope, you swing out, and then you swing back, avoiding it. Basically, back then, if you didn't avoid that, you're dead. And while you're waiting, after she finishes casting that, you need to engage her, or she'll start getting Vengeance of Van Cleef, which is basically boosting her melee attack speed and damage, and her size, and it stacks 40 times. Now, Powder Explosion is basically when she's down to 1% health. It's the same thing, basically, as Fiery Blaze. You just got to get off the ship because she'll blow herself. She blows herself up. I'm doing the quotation marks with my hands because I know the truth. But basically, while her HP is above 50%, she calls in health from her Defile's Brotherhood. So when she goes below 50, you don't have to worry about these ads. Well, we're going to show you how this fight actually goes in the beginning.
I've been waiting a long time for this, you know. Biding my time, building my forces, studying the minds of my enemies. I was never very good at hand-to-hand combat, you know. Not like my father. But I always excelled at poisons. Especially venoms that affect the mind.
Now, as you see, you gotta hit the steam valves to get out of there.
Poor Glubtuk. When his powers manifested, his own ogre mound was the first to burn. Deep within his soul, the one thing he feared most of all was himself. Most rogues prefer to cloak themselves in the shadows, but not Helix. You never know what skitters in the darkness. Can you imagine the life of a machine? A simple spark can mean the difference between life and death.
It's locked. It's locked.
Ripsnarl wasn't always a bloodthirsty savage. Once, he even had a family. He was called James Harrington, a tragedy in 3 parts. not share my father's fate. I will
Your
not
tale
give you the
ends
pleasure. If I'm going to die, I'm taking you all with me. My...
Basically, the ropes will spawn here, but I'm too quick. But as you can see, the achievement here for Vigorous Van Cleef Vindicator is to engage Vanessa within 5 minutes of being afflicted with the Nightmare Elixir. So basically, it was a speed run, which basically... It was very hard back then, but now it's pretty easy. And it seems like I can't loot her, so it's probably going to show up in my mail. Now, if you want to get out, all you have to do is jump down ship and go over into that cave system right there. But this is the end of the heroic Deadmines. This is Saren from Mysterian Gaming, asking you to please like and subscribe to these videos. Also to go check out my Twitch channel and follow. My goal right now is to reach advocates so I can start making funds to better my channels here on Twitch and YouTube. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around.